Hola, buen dia. It's me, Peppermint. And when I'm not on RuPaul's Drag Race or simply being New York City's sweetest diva, I'm tuned into the fabulously empowering Bayard Rustin Center for Social Justice Power Hour, coming to you every weeknight at 7 p.m. live from our good old friends at the BRCSJ Virtual HQ via their Facebook page. Tune in tonight.
Need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers.
Social justice, power hour, power hour, power hour. Social justice, power hour, power hour, power hour.
Good evening to our friends on the East Coast, good afternoon to our friends in the West, and good in-between time to our friends in those in-between spaces. Welcome, 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 my friends. Welcome to the Social Justice Power Hour. Welcome to the virtual headquarters of the Bayard Rustin Center for Social Justice. My name is Robert Martin Say-The Schreiber. I'm the chief activist here at the center and your host for this evening, as I have been for the past year and 8 months, my friends. Over 450 some odd shows, many of them very odd indeed. We have been here every single freaking weeknight since the pandemic started. Thank you for joining us. Those of you that have been here before, welcome back. Those of you that join us for the first time, welcome to an experience you're going to really enjoy and hopefully find empowering and entertaining, fabulous, and meaningful. Because our guest tonight, I know that he's brought a lot of friends and fam and followers and all sorts of folks to the yard. So thank you for coming to the Social Justice Power Hour to see Sampson McCormick, everybody. Gosh, we're going to have a great, great conversation and a great night together tonight, as we always do here in the Power Hour. And speaking of, I do want to just give a shout out and a thank you. Friday night, we had a really special night. We talked about Big Bird, this whole Big Bird brouhaha that's going on. And we had on David Camp, the author of Sunny Days, the children's television revolution of the 1970s. And we had Brian J. Jones, the biographer of Jim Henson. What a great conversation these two had. And I kind of was just in the middle looking goofy. But then at the end of it, we also brought on Emilio Delgado, a.k.a. Luis on Sesame Street. And for those of you that missed it, you should tune in. You should go back and watch this special show. And by the way, we did make a little special announcement. Emilio is going to join our board of directors here at the Bayard Rustin Center for Social Justice, and we are incredibly touched and honored. We haven't officially announced it. That's a little bit of a sneak peek, a spoiler alert for our Power Hour friends and fans. And then I do want to entice you to come back. As I said at the outset, we are here 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, every single freaking weeknight. And because we know that Sampson brought a lot of folks with him tonight, your first time here will be gentle, but we do want you to come back. So entice you to come back. Here are some highlights. Just some highlights, my friends, there. What's coming up? Here we have our free and fabulous queer yoga every Tuesday night. Queer Yoga Master Jasmani brings us to virtual nirvana. So please come and take a breath with us, both literally and figuratively. And then we have Adam Gopnik, OG radical of the real, one of the greatest minds of our generation, coming to us. We're going to talk about Wednesday night, eve of Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about things that we're thankful for and gratitude itself as a virtue. And then we have our special Thanksgiving Spectacular. We're going to have Jill Sobule, Maggie Smith, John Easdale from Dramarama, a whole bunch of folks turning out to make it a wonderful show to spend this holiday for many of us with chosen family is the best place to be. So join us if you want to or need to. And then Friday night, we had a benefit concert. For those of you that don't know, we lost our home during the pandemic, and it's hard to be a safe space without a space, right? So we had Wesley Stace come out with his entire late style band, do a benefit concert for us a few weeks back. It was extraordinary. And we're going to replay that concert for you as a special Power Hour on Friday night. So come out and see that. And then coming up, Bloody Crossroads, speaking of music, this is Danny Goldberg, music producer and wonderful member of the community. He was the manager of Nirvana all the way back to Led Zeppelin and up to today. He actually is Jill Sobule's, our musician in residence. He was her manager as well. Wrote a great book called Bloody Crossroads 2020, Arts, Entertainment, and Resistance to He Who Shall Not Be Named, our previous president. The Shattering Kevin Boyle wrote this great book, A Great Lens on America in the 1960s. And you can't be serious. You can't be serious. Cal Penn, all y'all. Cal Penn, a few weeks back, came out, let us all in, told us about his journey, told us about who he is, who he loves, and he's going to be here in the Power Hour to share that journey with us. The intersectionality of his identity embodies so much of what we do here in the Power Hour and what we represent here at the Byron Rustin Center for Social Justice. So we're excited and thrilled and honored to have Cal Penn come out, both literally and figuratively, to our Power Hour. But tonight, my friends, tonight, Sampson McCormick is an experience, a down-to-earth comedic force of nature, and has been one of the most celebrated and sought-after voices of diversity in comedy for nearly 2 decades. A cult favorite with an international following, he's been everywhere from the White House to the Laugh Factory and every place betwixt and between, including being the first LGBTQI comic ever to perform at a Smithsonian institution. An award-winning entertainer, Sampson's comedy offers riveting, refreshing, and original takes on religion, sexuality, racism, life, and politics. All those things you aren't supposed to talk about in polite company, but we know we always be chopping it up here on the Power Hour. So tonight, my friends, be prepared to be entertained, to be inspired, and maybe, definitely, a little offended. And please join me in welcoming to our Byron Rustin Center for Social Justice, Sampson McCormick, y'all. Sampson, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Well, good evening, and to you and to everybody watching. It is a true blessing and honor to be here.
I have to tell you, before we start, and there's so much I want to get to, we need like a power 2 hours to talk about everything you've done and your journey of getting there, what I really want to share with our folks. But I want to thank you first and foremost. For those of you who don't know, even before Sampson's been on tonight, he has been such an incredible supporter of the center and our good works. You not only gave us a video for our virtual Pride in June, which was hilarious and wonderful, and you were adorable in it, but you made me cry at my birthday. We had a birthday super spectacular here in the Power Hour, and you said something so incredibly fabulous, and you were wearing the most fabulous sequin shirt. Now I'm colorblind. I think it was purple, but it was unbelievable, and so are you. So thank you for all your support and love, even before we start to get into it tonight.
Oh, thank you. See, now I wish I would have put on something else fabulous, but I try to switch it up.
I think you're fabulous enough. Otherwise, I wouldn't even feel worthy of being on a split screen with you. So you're doing just fine, my friend.
Well, you're the one. You got the Basquiat shirt on with the Basquiat crown, and I'm actually my next tattoo because I had 5 tattoos. So there we go, 5 tattoos. So I'm thinking about getting my next one right here, and I'm thinking about the Basquiat crown.
Are you crazy?
Do you have it?
I'm trying to find the right angle for it. There you go. Sorry. There you go.
Oh my God, we're gonna be arm twins.
Oh, that I'd come out to California and I would do it with you. I'd sit there and hold your hand while you do it.
It's gonna happen, and when it happens, I'm gonna make sure either I or Vanja, who is my cousin and runs my stuff, I'll make sure one of us sends something over.
I love that. And that's your cousin, by the way. Let's lift up her name. She's amazing. We've been emailing back and forth, and she is the most delightful person ever. So thank her, and let's amplify that name. She's wonderful.
Yes, Vanja Abina is my cousin. She is up in Oakland, and she's been working with me for a while, and she helps keep me sane because I like to pop off.
Yeah, we all know that. Those of us that have seen you, we all know that. Let's talk about Basquiat for a second. I love this because I don't really talk about these things on the air, my personal stuff, But I got this tattoo right after I won this big award, and I was getting really grandiose, and I thought, I'm like king of the world, right? And then I thought, I need to put this on my arm. So I remember that it's imperfect, that life, when it works, and that we were at our best, it's when we're imperfect. And we remember that it is scritchy scratchy, that it is a line across the crown that is broken, that's how we work best together and support each other.
That's right. That's right. That's definitely a theme that I think innately I have, is knowing that there's true strength, and you shine the brightest when you are humble, when you are aware of self, but also when you're aware of others, and you strive for something greater than just something that's beneficial to yourself. And so that is it's just when you think you're humble, just when you think you really have that, life shows you again, no, you can get a little bit more humble here. You can be a little bit more selfless here. And so even though I'm not a religious person at all, I do abide by a lot of the proverbs and the Psalms. And there is one that says, "Pride goeth before the fall." So we try to stay as humble as possible, because there's another expression that says, "The humble don't stumble." So I'm trying to keep my knees from getting skint up over here, and hopefully we are all striving to do that.
Oh my gosh, you and I are so simpatico. In fact, tonight we have Carol Watchler watching with us, who's our community outreach coordinator here at the center, and she's been doing this work for literally decades and decades. She is a queer educator and a pioneer in the field of LGBTQI education, and she's the one that taught me that you're allowed to enjoy being on the stage, but you've got to be able to set up the chairs before and knock them down at the end. You have to
That's
do
right.
the work to be there on the stage too. And she taught me that lesson, and it's something that I think of almost daily here in the work that we do, and especially here on the show, to give others a chance to amplify their voices.
That's right. And it's that's something that I've learned. I've been in this business now for 21 years. And where I started, first of all, I was always the runt of the litter growing up. I was popular and people liked me, but I was still a popular runt, and so so I always had to work a little bit harder. I had to even though I was just as good as everybody else in whatever it was that I was doing, work a little bit harder. And then as I got older, because and this is such a complex conversation, but I try not to run on too much about this.
No, please.
But
That's why it's a power hour. It's beyond the soundbite. Please tell us the story. We want to hear it. Our community wants to hear it.
Okay, well, as a kid, and I didn't have the most supportive environment. I don't come from the most supportive environment, not emotionally, not, I wasn't really nourished and nurtured growing up by my parents. My dad left, and my mom, as I've gotten older and as I've learned to be able to look at things a little bit differently, I think she did the best that she could. I'm also very clear that we can say, our parents did the best that they could, but they still fucked us up. And so a part of being an adult and having that new knowledge is that you can go in and little bit by little bit try to get a little bit better. Not try, you must get better. And so that's a day by day, and depending on what it is that you're dealing with, moment by moment process. But I say all that to say, one of the biggest parts of my growing up was learning to grow up and be resourceful, because a part of not being nurtured in the way that I think would have maybe pushed me a little bit further than I am now. But I'm grateful for where I am now, is being taught about how to utilize certain resources and, navigate life a little bit differently. Um, I think my parents, my mom in particular, I think as many single mothers do, they don't want to let their sons go. And so it's understandable because the world can be a scary place, especially for a single woman, especially a black single black woman. We know how this world treats black people, and then to be a woman and then a black woman, you can imagine the fear where that can come from, and maybe some of the crazy things it can push you to do. Um, and so a part of that is harmful because you don't, maybe you withhold certain knowledge about what the real world looks like from your kids. And so, because you don't want them to leave home. And so, because of that, when I came out into the world, I didn't fail, but I definitely made a lot of mistakes and I had to endure a lot of different painful situations because nobody taught me what the real world looked like. I say all that to say, to get to the point that you were making a second ago, was as I entered into adulthood and really embracing my journey in the entertainment industry, and not just the entertainment industry, this applies to other parts of my life as well, was I had to, for what I didn't get taught growing up, I had to learn how to create those opportunities and those learning experiences for myself. And so a part of it was when I was going out on stage, and it's crazy how career in entertainment can do this for you. It was being out in these theaters, having to set up the chairs, set up the microphone system. Sometimes I would rent these theaters, especially when I was 18 and 19, I was doing this alone, no help. Setting up 50 seats in the theater. Then I had to rent a microphone. I had to learn how to set up the microphone, do the sound because I didn't have the extra $75 to pay a tech to come operate it for me. And then, had the audience to come in and I entertained them. And then afterwards I would break down and maybe a couple people knew what was going on and they would stay and break down the theater with me. And so those early experiences are the things that taught me that this is what it looks like to have to build, to have to really do the work, and really as difficult of a childhood and early adulthood as that was, I think that's a major reason why I'm still very grounded now, is because I know what that structure looks like and how important it is to you to just be a really well-rounded human being.
And I have to share with our community, and I want you to speak on this too, that this was exponentially even more difficult for you because you were also grappling with your identity at this time. And you weren't able to share that with many people who were close to you, and especially with your family. So how did that kind of intersect with everything that you were doing, not only struggling to be in entertainment and to succeed and to get your name out there and get yourself known, but also having to deal with this personal struggle at the same time of how your identity spoke to what your comedy was, what your stage work was, and having to find that balance between that and your family and your friends and your social circles.
So as far as
You lost Sampson for a second. I think that's just we promise you many things here in the power hour. We promise you inspiration. We promise you entertainment. We promise you technical. So bear with us for a moment, and I think Sampson will be back. So in the room, we'll see. Can you hear us? Yes, if you can hear me or see me, top on the top on it will work. There you are.
Yes, I can hear you. There we go. Oh my God, what was that about?
My question was so potent that it popped you off the screen.
It absolutely blew me off the screen.
So I want to rephrase it. So it was kind of clumsy. I was trying to get there, and I don't think I reached where I wanted to be. I know that you knew who you were, but there was definitely some in your early life having to come out, let in certain people, and having to balance that between what you were living off stage and what you were performing on stage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was you talking about when I had to come out as black? I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I'm
Thank you.
playing. I'm
Good night,
playing.
everybody.
No, I'm playing. So I've known that I am LGBTQ. I'm all of them. I'm all of it. Uh, I've known that I was since I was about 3 or 4, and a lot of people will ask. They'll say, "Well, that's too young?" I didn't know anything about sex, but I just knew I preferred to be in male company. I like sitting, my cousins and other little boys in our neighborhood. I like sleeping in the bed with them, and I like sitting on their lap. So I knew that. And I think when you're young, there's something different about me, which is a thought that I had in the first grade. I remember playing in the sandbox. My best friend was this little girl named Kiara Ali. And I remember she got out of the sandbox because this little boy was chasing her around. And I got upset that he wasn't chasing me around. So I always knew that there was something different about me. And I think growing up, I played basketball and stuff, but I was also very like artsy. Like I like to color, I like to write. Um, I did play with dolls. I played with cars and stuff too, but it's just the stuff I did with the cars. Like I used to paint the cars different colors and all kinds of stuff. And my stepdad would look at what I was doing. He would be like, "Straight boys don't do this." Like I would build little houses and stuff out of cardboard and make these little cardboard houses and stuff, and the houses would be immaculate, darling. And and my stepdad was just like, "This is not right." And so for me, as many of us, I knew that my sexuality was very natural. And not just my sexuality, but the way that I expressed who I am. That was very natural for me. That wasn't anything that anybody taught me. I didn't pick it up from television. I didn't pick it up from hanging around women. It's just what it was. And but I grew up always hearing that's just not right. Boys don't act like that. Boys don't talk like that. Boys don't do this and that. And then on top of that, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I'm from DC. And one thing that I really love about growing up during that time was we weren't politically correct. We were very this PC cancel culture we got going on. I understand why people do it, but I don't think that it's healthy because we grew up making fun out of each other. We grew up, if you had a flaw, we made fun out of your flaw. And what that taught you to do was embrace what was different about you. And so people may not like this. And if there are any negatives to why that could have been harmful, I can understand that for a lot of years I had identity issues because I am dark brown skin. And I grew up being told that was ugly. I grew up being told that having, my nose and my lips weren't attractive because I'm not light skin or white. And so you internalize all that, the stuff about your sexuality, the stuff about the way you look, the things about the way you present, how you talk, how you walk, how you act. And that kind of creates a deficit within you because that's what I had to work through more than anything. And I think that being able to go on stage and make fun out of it definitely helped me to accept it and heal a lot of things a lot more. But believe it or not, during the pandemic, when I wasn't able to get on stage for a whole year, that's when I was able to do a whole lot of personal self-development and really get to those parts of myself that I didn't know existed. And I had to go deep, 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 deep down and fix those. But as far as the stage goes, it was very influential in making sure that I always dealt with any issues that I had with myself. I always dealt with them in a very positive way. Some people who may have had a lot of the issues that I did have, they probably would have been on drugs or, you know, some sort of harmful, very harmful self-harming behaviors. But thankfully, I never did any of that. I just would work, which, whether we believe it or not, that is a coping mechanism.
Oh yeah, trust me, I understand that completely. So it's odd because you made the joke of coming out as black at the outset, and then you talked about coming out as being LGBTQI. But I was talking about coming out as a comedian, actually.
Coming out as a comedian, yes. Okay, so, well, that coming out as a comedian, I mean, I've always, I don't like to brag because I'm very blessed. But I've always been very blessed to be very funny. I have a great sense of humor. I'm really, again, I say this very humbly. I am an incredible comedy writer, and I have a great eye and ear and brain for really great humor. And creating projects that speak to people and help them to laugh through whatever, even if the subject is really difficult. I really am so blessed to be to have that sort of talent. And so people always knew I didn't really have to come out as a comedian. It was more so, again, not having the support initially. What I didn't have in support, I had in self-belief. My mom didn't want me doing comedy as a matter, because I started when I was 16. So I would sneak out of the house. She didn't know every Wednesday I was going down to this place called Teddy's House of Comedy. It was really a club that was 18 to enter, 21 to drink. But I was so passionate about comedy that they let me come in anyway. And my mother didn't know that I was going down there. I told her I was at basketball practice because my mom was super religious. And if she would have known I was in a nightclub, she wouldn't have been going for that. So one night, I don't know why, but I think I stole one of her wigs to use on stage, like to play, do some sort of character or something. And she never wore that wig, ever. But this night, she just so happened to want to find it and comb it out. And what I used to do was, so that I could sneak back in the house, I would put a pair of shoes next to the couch, and I would ball up a blanket on the couch and throw another quilt on top of it to make it look like I was balled up, sleep on the couch. And for some reason, she wanted that wig that night and couldn't find it. So she, of all these nights, I'd been going down there for about a month and a half, she pulled the cover back to wake me up to see where that wig of hers was, and found out I wasn't on the couch. And so when I came home from this comedy club, and it was about maybe 10:30 at night, she was out in the front yard of our apartment building with about 6 police officers screaming, panicking, like, "Oh my God, my son. Oh, I don't know where he is." And they're like, they got flashlights, and then I come walking up. She's like, "Oh, Lord, there he is, there he is." And they shine their flashlight in my face. And the officer goes, "Oh my God, we thought you were like 2 or 3 years old." And so what she did was she wanted to know where I was, because she had called and she found out I wasn't at basketball practice. So I said, I was doing comedy. And the first thing she thought was that I was smoking and drinking. And she didn't as a matter of fact, I had to be in the house at, I think I used to get out of school at 3:30. So I had to start coming home at 4:30 or 5 o'clock. And she barred me from going to comedy clubs for a while. And it wasn't until she saw me perform somewhere. And I think when she saw the people responding to me, that's when she started becoming a little bit more supportive of a career. But other than that, as far as that real emotional support, that's what I struggled with through a lot of my career, was not having that emotional support that you need in a business like this. It really, really was a whole lot of, I'm thinking about I'm thinking back to when I was that age, Rob. It took a whole lot of self belief that I thinking back, I'm like, I had a lot of self belief. Oh, like an insanely high amount of self belief.
So, I think that there's a piece that I haven't heard, and I want to see if I understand. You talk about as being on stage as a coping mechanism, but what was the humor itself, the way that it kind of blossomed, was a natural talent for you, but was it also sort of a self-defense mechanism from the jibes and the jaunts and all the things that people were saying about you, both your Black identity and your unspoken and even, unfully realized queer identity?
No, it was just it was something that comedy is something that I'm really good at. It's something that I really enjoy doing, always have. So that's what it was about. It was the one thing in the world that I had that could keep me happy.
That's so wonderful to hear. That it's just pure joy for you. That's such a great revelation to share with us, because that is so meaningful. And now when folks see you, they can hear and feel and see the joy that's emanating from inside of you. And I think that's going to give them so much more enjoyment of the work that you do. So thank you for sharing that. That's really wonderful.
Thank you.
So you're working on stage and you're working your ass off to get known, to get seen, to get heard, to get, be able to not have to rent your own theaters and not have to set up your own microphones. And now you have achieved this incredible platform that, I want to ask you, does Teddy's House of Comedy know that, someone who was working there back in the day has been at the White House, has been at the Smithsonian, has all these films out now? Have you been back there and said, hey, this is what I've achieved in this time?
Oh, I would have loved that, but Teddy's House of Comedy closed probably in 2006 or something like that.
Oh, that's a shame. We should reopen it. We should go there and just make it happen for a night, like a benefit, like one night. Teddy's House of Comedy reborn. I like it. I'm working on it.
I doubt that would happen.
So let's talk about, now you have come, and what about your journey led you to make and produce and act in films in a much more dramatic vein? What was it? Did you feel like my comedy has spoken to this part of me, and now there's this other part that I want to give voice to?
Part of it was wanting to do something else, but the biggest part was knowing that there's a need for more authentic and well-written and high-quality Black gay stories, that are honest, that are provocative, that are funny. And I know that I am a very compassionate creator, and I'm also someone who has, again, I've been very blessed with the ability to write. And so I thought that it was my responsibility to contribute.
And Robert Jones Jr., a mutual friend of ours, just yesterday or the day before, wrote a great piece on I believe your newest film. So can you talk about that a bit? Because I think that right now it's available for folks to view, and it's a beautiful exploration of love, Black love, and and I think that Robert Jones Jr. was the perfect person to write about it, because The Prophets also has that same feeling to it, and that wonderful way of celebrating something that has been so taboo for so long, and we need to just embrace it both literally and figuratively, right?
So the newest film is B-Boy Blues. It's based on a 1994 novel, legendary 1994 novel by James Earl Hardy. It was a Black gay love story, hip hop love story. And I am the co-executive producer of the screen adaptation of the film, and Jussie Smollett is the director. And we just had the first premiere screening in Harlem this past weekend. The house was packed, and I am really excited to see what people think about this film. The energy in the place was electric.
And tell people where they can see it.
So right now, it's out on. We did not want people to see it on ABFF, but I would say this: you can download the app and look at it through the American Black Film Festival. If you do watch it there, make sure that you also vote for it for Best Narrative Feature, at least, so that we can bring home that award and also make the statement that Black LGBTQ stories are wanted. And making that statement at an event like the ABFF is very necessary. For the people who want to wait for the larger rollout, you can wait till we either come to one of your cities, because we're going to do that. We're definitely coming to DC, LA, and Atlanta, or a streaming service, which it will be on a streaming service soon.
Well, if you want to come to Jersey, let us know. We'd be thrilled to host a showing and get our community out there in full force.
Absolutely.
I think it's so important that these stories are heard, because love in all it's wonderful, throughout identity, throughout the spectrum, throughout whatever it is, however one represents, however one loves. It's a rarity to see it expressed in this way, and as Robert put it in his article that I beseech people to go read, because then they're going to be totally excited about it. And Robert can say it far better than I can. But this representation is so important because it's so beautiful, it's so meaningful. Sometimes it is difficult, and that's important too, to speak to the difficulty of it as well, right?
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's difficult. I would say that you need courageous people, people who have the heart to tell the story. And, what a lot of people don't understand, because what I have learned is, I think a lot of people look at what creators do and they think we pull this stuff out our ass, and don't get me wrong. There are some magical moments when it's just like, you're just gliding through life and you're making great stuff and you're like, wow, this is wonderful. But there are also other times when you create things and you have to really navigate a lot of internal things that you got going on to create it, which is why you hear a lot of artists and creative folks go, oh, after I created this piece, I couldn't leave the house for 2 weeks, or, I shut down. It really is like postpartum depression, because you are really birthing something from within you and pushing it out into the world. And sometimes to do that, it takes a whole lot of courage. I think a lot of people look at a lot of creators, particularly Black queer creators, and they go, oh, these people have it all figured out. But some of us still, and when I say struggle, I don't mean not accept, I mean have to navigate through certain wounds and certain belief systems around our sexuality, around the ways that we talk about it. And so I think people really should understand in that capacity, creating, speaking out, being vulnerable enough to put the stories out there really can be a tremendous act of courage.
I love this idea of birthing something, of being a creator, being a creative. I love using that as a noun. And do you think you were ready? Do you think that your journey through comedy and what you've achieved through comedy on the stage, was there a moment where you said to yourself, okay, I'm ready to do this next bit. I'm ready to do this bit of taking it not to the next level, because it's not the next level. It's a parallel level maybe, but it's something that's different than what you were doing. So was there a moment in your life or in your creative being where you said, okay, this is the next thing. This is where I want to be able to put my energies to telling these stories of love, of lovers, of loving?
Oh yeah, I'm there now. I'm never going to stop doing comedy, but it's just time for me to do some other things. And who knows, I may start back doing comedy hardcore the way I was at one time. I mean, if you look at my website, I'm always going to have a show coming up somewhere. But a lot of the energy that I was putting into comedy, now, I'm in a place in my career now where it's time to start producing more screen work and, really lifting up other creative folks. And that's something that I struggled with for a long time because I didn't feel like I had gotten the recognition that I deserved through the work that I've done, because I've done some really, and I say this humbly, I've done some tremendously powerful, groundbreaking work that was not being done when I was doing it. And so I really had to challenge myself to look past what I felt like was something that I was lacking. I felt like I was lacking the um, being. I didn't feel seen. I say it like that. I didn't feel seen, and so when you don't feel seen, it's hard for you to see other people. And so for me, as I wrestled with that, I realized that it's really important to help usher people into opportunities so that they won't have to struggle the way that I did in my career. If I would have had somebody who would have really been there helping me when I was really passionate about comedy and really out there, getting standing ovations in places where Black gay people do not get standing ovations at, and all those things, I could have gone a lot further. And it's not over with, but now it's just time for me to shift a little bit.
And was that a gradual realization, or was that an epiphany that you had at some moment that because you speak to it in a way that most people don't really admit to, that many of us feel this way, but you're honest enough and forthright and frank enough to say, hey, I didn't get the recognition I deserved when I was doing this groundbreaking work, which you absolutely were, and I'm so glad that you have the ability to see that. But you begrudgingly were like, well, I deserve it, and then you didn't feel like, well, then how do I give others a platform when I didn't get one myself? So what in your journey allowed you to have that realization, to have that, whether it was it a moment, was it an epiphany, or was it a gradual kind of self-realization that you needed to do this because of the fact that you didn't get the opportunity yourself?
Both. Both. I mean, I think about it. Like, I mean, I didn't have the support at home. Something as simple as having a parent go, I believe in you. I see you. How can I help you? So I didn't have that. Those times when I was getting booked and going on the road and getting standing ovations in Kentucky. Going down, and I got rednecks in the audience coming up to me after shows going, I ain't never seen no nigger as funny as you before. There you go. And you perform in the hood in Detroit somewhere, and then you got Black people coming up going, man, you a funny faggot motherfucker. And this is speaking directly to these communities about the things that we allow to separate us, whether they be race, whether they be sexuality, rather than really embracing the idea of living and let live. If I would have just had more, and it's still, don't get me wrong, it's still not over with. Again, I'm still performing and things like that. But I don't know if I'll ever be able to go back to how I was doing it. But again, if I would have just had someone there if I would have had support, it would have made all the difference. And, the fact that I did it for so long without any help is I've had to, for the sake of my own mental health, start patting my own self on the back. Because not many people would have been able to do what I was doing, especially for all the rejection that you have to deal with. And so that alone, I think I think it's suppressed anger. Some of it is disappointment. Some of it is above everything, because I'm a very optimistic person. I believe that it would mean just as much to be able to push others to have opportunities that I wish I would have gotten earlier in life.
And does that give you some healing for the early part of your life when you didn't have that support, especially from family? Are you allowed to take in the reflection of what you're doing for others, for that younger self that you were, that didn't have it from who you absolutely deserve to have it from?
I think so. I think more of it is I know it's not something, it's something that I've accepted. I've accepted it a long time ago, the things that I did not get. And so I think because I know what those things are, I'm able to easily give that to other people
Yes.
because I know exactly what those things are.
And I think that's why these pieces that you're doing now, this movie we mentioned before, is so extraordinary, because you can see how much of an imprint you've had on it behind the scenes in elevating and amplifying all the folks that are involved, from the director and from the original text to the actors and everybody involved benefits so much from you now being at this moment in your journey to allow your love to radiate from you to them in the way that you never received yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. I am going to definitely help revolutionize how Black gay men and women, but I mean, I think I have a huge responsibility to an identity that I represent first in the entertainment industry and film and in media, and having those important conversations. And that's what's really important to me right now. We're still gonna laugh a lot while we do it because I am laughter, but just I'm gonna shift a little bit.
And we appreciate that, and we appreciate both, because we want to see you on stage, we want to laugh with you, but we also think that this is such a wonderful moment. We're so thrilled that we get to talk to you now, when it's at not the start, but the moment when it's going to really blow up, and you're going to see all these things that Sampson's doing. And I can't wait for our community to enjoy this blossoming of everything that you encompass. I want to take it back to comedy, though, and I want to take it back to, this interests me, and I want to ask this, and I want to understand. When we have authors on, I often talk about process and how they write, and how they get to what they do. And I want to talk to you about your comedy in the same way. When you do your comedy, is it a natural thing that you get up on stage and you just present the material, or is there a process when you think about what lens am I seeing this through? Well, we lost Sampson again. We'll have him back in a moment, I'm sure. And my question was really good, so I'm very sad. I want to have to rephrase it and reframe it. And here he is. He's coming all the way from California, so there's a 3-hour time difference. Technology can only do so much. So we're seeing a blank screen, and I'm assuming that we're going to see Sampson pop on in 3, 2, 1. Oh, I thought I could call it. Sampson, if you can hear or see us, I hope that you're still with us. There you are.
Here. I'm here. I'm here. Hey.
Thanks for always coming back.
Always.
So I'm gonna start again. When you do your comedy, is it a purely natural performance, or do you have a dedicated idea of what lens you want to present it through? And also, on the flip side, what lens people are going to see it through as audience members?
It's a little bit of both. I never give, even if I'm at a comedy club doing 4 shows in a weekend, I never do the same show. I feel like spontaneity is most important for really good comedy. You have to leave room for something in there that feels fresh and off the cuff. But there also, since you're giving an audience a professional show, there does need to be some organization. And so depending on where I'm at and what type of audiences that I'm dealing with, I develop the organization around the show based upon that. Everything else, though, is I allow lots of room for me to relax and be spontaneous.
But in the beginning, when you first started out, was there a dedicated idea? Did you think about, okay, this is who I'm playing to. This is my audience. I'm playing to a black audience. I'm playing to a queer audience. I'm playing to a straight audience. Was that ever a consideration, or was it always, I'm just going to go out there and be funny, and people who get it are going to get it, and people who don't, so be it?
I think I think any comedian until you become like mainstream, there's an expression, know your audience. And so you have to shift a bit for each audience that you get in front of. Of course, for a black audience, you have to speak the language a little bit. And then for a more mainstream audience, there's a certain approach that you have to take. And then for a gay audience, there's a certain approach that you have to take. But I believe if you truly are working on your craft, I think you fine tune it, get it just right after a few years where you can get in front of any audience and talk to them the same way and get the same response.
That's interesting. All right, so let's talk about something a little difficult, if you don't mind. Let's talk about you opened the door earlier to the idea of cancel culture, and I believe that you and I have a little bit of a different concept of this and feeling about it, and I'd love to explore it a bit if you're comfortable with that.
Let's do it.
All right. So you came out, so to speak, a few weeks back in support of Dave Chappelle. And would you share with our community just a moment why you feel it was important to come out in support of what, everything that was going on, and then we can kind of talk about it and see if we can find some sort of common ground, because I think that it was interesting, and it was controversial, as many things that you do are, and we celebrate that. But I do want our community, because I know that some people were a little taken aback by it. So I'd love to have a platform for you to talk about it, and then for us to talk about it together.
Okay. So I don't think I'm controversial. I think that I'm very practical, and I think that I know how to have conversations that, even as we cross bridges, help us to understand how having conversations should make us uncomfortable. And when I say uncomfortable, that means reaching outside of our comfort zone. That means understanding the cultural barriers that may exist, the ideas that may exist around why we're having such a hard time connecting around certain parts of these conversations. And so when it comes down to Dave Chappelle, I came out in support of him, for one, because I know him as a person. I know that he's not homophobic. I know that he's not transphobic. And the funny thing about it that a lot of people don't know is a lot of the people who they support, who come out and are very performative towards the gay community, if you saw these people behind the scenes, you find out they actually don't give a damn about the gay community. They want your gay money. And that's about it. And it's sad because a lot of these people are booked for pride over actual gay artists who are out speaking about what our struggles are, what our lives are like, and speaking to the community. But we rather go over here and get Little Miss Reality Star, who, beats her gay makeup assistant with her cell phone, but I'll leave that alone. It's also because I am a comedian and I understand humor. Comedy has always been used to make fun out of everybody. And in order for us to achieve full equality, you can't exclude yourself from the whole bunch. We make fun out of black people. We make fun out of fat people. We make fun out of women. We make fun out of men. We make fun out of gay people. We make fun out of trans people. We make fun out of Asians. We make fun out of the way Asian people drive, because all this stuff is stuff that we think about, even if we aren't saying it out loud. The beautiful thing about comedy is that comedy is steeped in truth. And so he said some things, and I'm pretty sure I can understand why some trans people would be could feel offended by some of it. But in general, those are a lot of the same questions that people ask themselves because a lot of people don't have trans friends that they can have conversations with. Some people don't have gay friends that they can have conversations with. And so the thing about comedy is, yes, comedy amplifies it, but these are things that people are thinking, period. I say all of that to say you can't ask for full equality, and then when you are at the table getting treated just like everybody else, try to exclude yourself from that.
And I understand that. But don't you think that someone like Dave Chappelle, who has such a huge platform, giving voice to these things that one could call transphobic, and no matter what his personal views are, no matter who he is as a person, when he says something on stage, don't you think it gives credence to those people who have hate in their hearts, who want to be prejudiced, who want to be homophobic, who want to hurt other people? Don't you think that someone like Dave Chappelle giving voice to these ideas, however funny they may be, also lends credence to these folks to think it's okay to believe that?
No, I don't think comedy has ever contributed to violence against anybody. At least not physical violence. I come from the school where, if somebody says something about you, say something back and keep it pushing. People respect you most when you're able to laugh at yourself. And I think for our community is very hypocritical in, wanting equal treatment, but not treating other people, with compassion. And a part of being able to have these conversations is being able to be compassionate to other people. That means being able to meet them where they are. And our community does not do that a lot. And not just with other people, we also do the same thing to each other. Don't be in our community and be overweight. Don't be in our community and be femme presenting. Don't be in our community, especially, Lord have mercy, don't be in our community in a large city and don't have a dick that's bigger than 8 inches. Any of those things, and you absolutely do not exist in our community. Don't be broke. Don't be disabled. Don't be unconventionally attractive.
Don't be old.
Don't be old. Any of those things, and you get the same treatment. So when we improve the way we treat each other, because I will say that because I have heard people in our community speak to each other and say things that are a whole lot worse than what Dave Chappelle said on that stage to each other in our clubs and in our safe spaces. So maybe if I didn't hear things like that in our community from these same people who get out here and talk about how offended they are, maybe I would think about it differently. But I think that our community, we treat each other a lot worse than anybody else does. And as a matter of fact, Daphne, who opened for Dave Chappelle, I knew Daphne. And I was making a joke about it too, because everything that he said about her on the special was true. At the time when I met her, I was going through a period of my time when I was like, in my career, where I was like, well, what am I doing with my career? And I met her and they kept saying, she opened for Dave Chappelle. And I saw her perform her set and I was like, she opened for Dave Chappelle. But she was a sweet lady. And my point is that after she opened for him, the community, rather than engage her in conversation, they said some really horrible things, and she was already dealing with mental health and all sorts of stuff. And her own community pushed her to the brink.
So I think that's a really good point, that there's a lot of ostracization in the gay community in and of itself. I want to explore just give me a moment, because you say, in school, we all make fun of each other and, it's just, that's what we do. Don't you think there's a difference between someone in the hallway making fun of you and someone who then has a megaphone and makes fun of you? And it's amplified that much stronger, that much louder, that much with more effect. Don't you think that there's a little bit of a difference when it comes to that?
No.
Right.
No, I think that, everybody's going to have their own opinion. That's not going to change anybody's opinion. you know. And so I think nobody is forcing you to turn on his specials. Nobody put a seatbelt on your couch at the house and strap you in and made you look at it. So I tell people all the time, rather than complain about what he's talking about, start supporting artists who are talking about things that you want to hear and who are leading the charge to make changes in the way that you would like to see changes made. If artists who were out got the same type of attention that people were giving Dave Chappelle, the conversation will look a lot different.
I love that. That's a great way. I think that's a great way for us to wrap this up in that positivity. So instead of looking to the negative aspects of what's happening, let us look to the positive and say, who can we support instead? Instead of saying, hey, I don't want to hear from this person anymore, leave that be. Say, I want to hear from these people instead. So let's amplify those queer artists, those queer comedians, those queer directors and filmmakers and writers and whoever else. Let's find those voices to amplify. Instead of saying, let's not hear from this anymore, let's go over here and we can hear from these folks who support our community, are members of our community, our community. I like that. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful way for us to end this conversation. I want to thank you so much. This went way too fast, and there's so much more I want to talk to you about. You have persevered and thrived, and you're at this moment now where it's beautiful to see that you get to feel the love that you've always deserved to feel, first and foremost. But then you almost, the exact moment that happened, you said, let me reflect this back and amplify and give others a platform too. There's nothing more beautiful than that, my friend, and thank you for that.
Of course.
So I hope you'll come back to us. I hope the next time I think Christmas, we're going to ask you to do something for the holidays to celebrate with us. This has been wonderful, and we so appreciate your time. We know how busy you are. We know how many people are asking after you, and thank you for putting us on your dance card.
Absolutely. Also, make sure y'all check out Love the One You're With, which is another film that I have out. That's streaming on Amazon Prime. It's one of the top streaming LGBTQ films on Amazon Prime this year. And it's number 13 in the United Kingdom on Amazon Prime for LGBTQ movies, which is very special. And right. Follow me on Instagram at Sampson McCormick for more updates.
So we got all your stuff. Alan is our Princeton University Fall Fellow who's with us tonight in the comments section. You'll see all of Sampson's stuff, Instagram, his actual website where you can find all this, his Twitter and his face, all is there in the comments section for you to just click on, my friends. And B-Boy Blues is the movie that we're going to look for in our theaters, maybe even here in Jersey. And Love the One You're With is right now on Amazon Prime that people can find and enjoy right after the show. Right, the show's going to end in about a minute, everybody. Go watch the movie right after this. Thank you, Sampson. Thank you so much for all you've done and all you're going to do. And just steps in our journey together. We really appreciate you and love you. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Be well, my friend. So everybody, that is Sampson McCormick. As we said, B-Boy Blues. Love the One You're With, and look in. He's ever coming to your town to do some more comedy, whatever it may be. Support our friend, support our community. Thank you all for being with us tonight. This has been a wonderful evening here in the Power Hour. As I said at the outset, we are here 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, every single freaking weeknight. Come back to us, my friends. We are here for you. Please be here with us. Until soon, much love and respect. Be good to each other. Be good to your families, chosen or otherwise, and most especially, my friends, you've heard it many times tonight and throughout our show, be good to yourselves. You need it, and we need you here with us.
In every community, a group of angelic troublemakers